Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm Chris Welsh. I joined MPP in 2012 from the mobile apps industry, and I'm currently heading up their TV operations in the UK. Thanks for joining me in the webinar today, and we're going to discuss how to monetize the connected entertainment environment. I'm sure most of you know who MPP are, but for those of you that aren't sure, we're a leading provider of payment services and e-commerce solutions to the media and entertainment sectors. So we specialize in monetizing digital content and digital assets. Our customers include Sky, Trinity Mirror PLC, Universal Music Group, Philips, News International, among others. But we'll talk about a few of our customers later on in the presentation. Okay, before we get into the presentation proper, there's just some housekeeping rules, webinar controls to run past you. So we will be, we're happy to take questions, but we will be addressing them at the end of the session. From my experience, answering questions throughout as they come in can lead to it becoming quite disjointed. So we will address those at the end, as many as we can. And lastly, we will be conducting a simple poll during the session, so please follow the instructions on the screen, but I'll help talk you through it anyway. Okay, so as you've probably seen in the webinar invite itself, we will be discussing four main areas today, titled on this slide: the global ecosystem, in particular how it was, where we are and where we're going, OTT and the new pay TV environment. So we'll have a look at the industry as it stands, the key players, and more importantly, we'll highlight some of the challenges that are facing the sector today, how technology is changing the landscape. Technology is evolving rapidly in the 21st century, and with evolution comes change, so we need to adapt or get left behind. We look at emerging technologies shaping the industry today and give some special attention to the smart TVs in particular. Lastly, we'll discuss the consumer in terms of their user experience and how to deliver your content, and of course how to monetize this content. At MPP we realize that payments is only a small part of a wider project, albeit a very important one. So we will address those three areas later on in the presentation. Okay, so the global ecosystem as it stands really. Okay, so I did say we would start by looking at how it was. So we've got a little graphic here to show you. So TV has been at the heart of the living room now for many decades, and there's no sign that that will change in the near future. However, how we're watching TV shows now is changing dramatically and significantly all around us. Gone are the days of multiple users sharing one device and viewing the same content at the same time. Gone are the days of linear TV broadcasters controlling what we watch when we watch it. So it begs the question, what is the state of TV today? Okay, so today the consumer is much more demanding. We want TV to fit into our own busy schedules. Expectations have risen dramatically, and we are now digesting content in new ways, on new devices and in different environments. We've seen the following changes in recent years, including terrestrial channels viewing figures in decline as audiences become increasingly more fragmented. We've seen the emergence of IPTV services, IP services in general. TV catch-up has come to fruition. Videos on demand are common play. Pay TV subscriptions are on the increase. So what can we expect in the future? As I said, today the consumer already expects to get the content they want on whatever device they like, wherever they are. And this will become an absolutely essential part for all operators this year and beyond. TV can no longer call itself a push industry. Things have changed. The consumer is now pulling the content they want as and when it suits them. Could cord cutting become a reality as consumers look to lower monthly bills and they're changing their viewing habits? If you look at similar industries like publishing and music, they've had to adapt. Print is dying, some might say it's already dead. So the publishing industry has had to make significant adaptations. Live shows and merchandising in the music industry is the only real way music artists can turn a profit nowadays. So they've had to adapt too. And I believe that TV is no different. Traditional pay TV has never looked so vulnerable, but then again, it's never quite looked so exciting either. HBB TV operators still might edge it by offering linear TV everywhere services for small subscription increases and similar. The likes of Sky B, Virgin and HBO are doing just that and very well. So we've seen the emergence of social TV from people like Zbox, second screen engagement, a single sign-on. So if I've got an account with Sky, for example, I want to be able to log on to it, my same account on my phone, my tablet, my laptop. Cord cutting, could it become a reality? Are cable operators worried? Interactive advertising too. There's lots to consider, and I can see a bright future in television. Okay, so OTT and the new pay TV environment. Okay, so it might be sensible to look at OT as a definition. I'm sure we all know by now what OTT means, well, variations aside, of course. But I thought that this definition was quite interesting, well, at least part of it. It's not under the administrative control of the content or service provider. Okay, I think this statement speaks volumes. This endorses our opinion that the end user is now the master of content. Consumers pull the content they want to meet their own personal needs and interests across any connected device at any time. I know I've said that a couple of times now already, but it's worth hammering home. This control for the end user shouldn't necessarily worry broadcasters, though. If anything, it's an encouraging consumer trend, whereby the more flexible and ease of service you provide, the more likely it is that the end user will consume that content, the content you're offering. Key technologies under the OTT banner are adaptive bitrate, streaming and content delivery networks, but flexible content security and a seamless user experience also provide challenges in themselves. Those are the four main elements, though, of an integrated solution. Okay, so who are the main players in the game today? Okay, early adapters such as YouTube, iPlayer, Sky Go and so on are reaping the benefits with extremely high viewing figures, some collected through captured audiences, of course, but we actually have someone on this call from the BBC, and I'm sure they'd agree that the BBC are quite a rigid company, shall we say, yet they were one of the pioneers of IP services. All these products you can see on the screen are essentially providing OTT services. However, the companies behind them are practicing very different business models. Monetization doesn't need to be a straight-up subs or pay-per-view model. There are many different ways to monetize content, which I'll touch on in more detail later. Advertising too, for example, is still a huge area for monetization for operators, just not quite how we remember it. YouTube, well, some might say it changed the internet as we know it almost overnight. Anyone could become a publisher, upload their own content, and even now exercise their own monetization models on that platform. YouTube is actually the most valuable brand in Google's portfolio now, valued at over $40 billion last year, and it even valued at that, and it was still costing the company money until recently because they relied so heavily on advertising. It's actually the second biggest search engine in the world now too. And this is all indicative that the more modest content owners, shall we say, among us shouldn't rely on advertising models alone for monetization. Owning content with value is important, content we're prepared to pay for. We can see Netflix and Love Film are doing this very well, but even now they are looking for new ways to drive more revenue and control more of their own business for different reasons. One of the main reasons being digital rights management. We've seen Netflix this year produce and publish their own content, a series called House of Cards, and they made this full series available online at the same time exclusively for Netflix customers. So they've seen them all watch episodes back to back, etc. There's obviously high costs associated with that, but it seems to have been a success if you base your opinion on the fact that they have decided to do a similar project late in May with another popular US sitcom, Arrested Development. So they are producing and publishing that content as well. So they seem to have crunched the numbers and believe that the additional subscriptions they're acquiring off the back of that content is worth the investment. Love Film have just acquired Warner Bros. Shows, so that might take them to the next level too. Who should we look out for in 2013? Okay, let's look at the spotlight here. Okay, so I appreciate that this list could have been as long as my arm. I could have put many brands on this slide, but I've selected a few for different reasons. Roku, for example, they've sold 5 million media streamers to date, and they are seeing 25%, a quarter of their users access up to 35 hours of content per week. Admittedly, that might be within one household with different family members accessing that content, but still 35 hours is a substantial figure if you consider a working week in the UK is 40 hours. Total streams are in excess of 8 billion now for Roku since their launch in 2008. So if you laid out each of those titles as DVDs on the floor, it would consume 120,000 football pitches, just to give you an idea of scale. The point that I'm trying to make is that in 5 years, this small company is now able to challenge the likes of Apple due to their early adoption. Roku have also just recently announced that they will be streaming Time Warner content as well, which will add another 300 networks into the mix for them, and I can see them becoming a dominating force this year and beyond. Panasonic, for example, I've just read last week that they have only now just introduced their first media streaming box, so that's 5 years later than Roku. So will they have a huge obstacle to overcome for dragging their feet? It does pose a question now. Will brand over product prevail? Will Panasonic beat Roku over brands? You might be wondering why Spotify is on the list, but they are moving into the TV space, and in a big way too. I had a meeting with one of their top execs last week actually, and they have developed a lot of smart TV applications which are live in many different smart TV sets right now, and they intend to be on a lot more by the end of the year. So could Spotify take the industry by storm? They certainly will be coming in with a big advantage, if you ask me, especially as a newco. So in the TV space, if you will. They've got 25 million users in total now, and 6 million of those are paying subscribers for their premium services. So they have a multi-platform service already. It's now including smart TV apps, and they meet the needs of the modern consumer's expectations. And with 1 billion Facebook shares daily, it's obvious users like to share what content they want. So I think that Spotify could do this very well, and people could share a lot of the videos they're watching, and the viral marketing, etc., associated with that is obviously going to be beneficial to them. Okay, let's move on to challenges. I'd imagine you've all experienced your own challenges, and there are different challenges for different companies, but I've tried to cover a few of them here. Okay, so OTT could represent the final convergence between broadcast and telecommunications. Whether that's as allies or competitor, both worlds are rushing into OTT right now. OTT is not a one-size-fits-all technology, unfortunately, and it is still not quite capable of delivering reliable HD quality to all devices over any network at any time, well, just yet anyway. There are many challenges for the industry, such as the digital rights management one, which I've touched on before. So the likes of Spotify pay or Netflix pay. So Spotify pay the music labels to stream their music content. Netflix do the same with the people that own the movies and the TV shows they're streaming. So as they acquired more subscriptions, they believed that the digital rights costs would decrease, but quite the contrary has happened. The rates are actually increasing. So that is one of the reasons why you've seen Netflix produce and publish their own content. Could owning your own content be the future? That's a challenge. Content acquisition, protection management too. Finding a business model that works, that's also a challenge, and the monetization model that works, and I guess that boils down to your consumer, their needs, their wants, how they like to pay, all these aspects. CRM too, that will be a challenge. So the broadcasting industry has traditionally been the B2B industry, so they've never really had a need for advanced CRM systems, but they will need one, absolutely. Centralization, of course, with all the customers and products and titles, etc. Integrating multi-screen services and different devices. There are many challenges facing the OTT industry today. Okay, let's break up for a little second, and we'll conduct the poll. So the question, over the next 2 years, by what percentage do you expect OTT revenue to increase your bottom line? Okay, I can see there's a lot of OTT operators on this call, but there's also quite a few guys like platform partners, etc. So if you could answer on behalf of your closest OTT ally, I'd appreciate that. Okay, so you know the question. I'm going to publish the multiple choice answers right now, so you should be able to see those on your screen. So there's 5 different choices. Over the next 2 years, by what percentage do you expect OTT revenue to increase your bottom line? Okay, we can see quite a lot of votes coming in now. We will publish these results when we send an email to you in due course off the back of this session. Okay, 100% voted. Thank you very much. We shall move on. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, the next slide to ease you back in. It's a quick slide. It's just a snapshot of the industry, really. OTT to the TV viewers will outnumber IPTV viewers in 2013 for the first time. By 2015, 380 million people globally will view online video via connected devices. Only 163 million now users will be watching managed IPTV services from the likes of BT and Orange by 2015. So as you can see, these statistics are leading to one conclusion, and that is OTT is the future of streaming. Okay, another quick slide for you. As you can see, this slide is a little tongue-in-cheek, but it does pose a valid question. How can traditional pay TV and the new pay TV operators merge seamlessly, with the needs of the consumer at the heart of such adaptations? As I mentioned earlier, HBB TV operators could lead the way. They could offer linear TV everywhere services like 4OD, BBC iPlayer, etc. already doing, for a small subscription increase perhaps, or just for an extra upgrade of service really. But there are other ways too: preloaded or downloadable apps and smart TV sets, OTT content streamed through games consoles and set-top boxes or similar media devices. I guess there are no right and wrong answers. It's just important that you do have an answer. Okay, so technology and how it's changing the landscape today. Let's move on. Okay, so I did say we'd focus on smart TVs, so we'll do that shortly, but let's just summarize where we're up to right now. So the internet itself is only a few decades old. In the last decade alone, we have witnessed a considerable amount of changes and developments, including the introduction of social media itself. You know, if you told me 10 years ago, for example, I'd be reading microblogs and looking at images of a Canadian spaceman live in orbit on the International Space Station, I'd have thought you were crazy. But that's Twitter and social media for you today, connecting people from all walks of life from all over the world with shared interests. We're paying for more goods online now too. There's trust there. There's trust in e-commerce. We're viewing and streaming more content than we've ever done before. We're entertaining ourselves now via connected devices we keep with us at all times. Remember when a phone was just used to call people? Then came SMS, and now we use our phone to do a whole host of things. Everything really. We work, entertain, organize, interact and connect with others on our phones. But TVs are probably the last electronic device on this shot to adapt, but it may well be the one that's best positioned to open up new revenues for OTT operators. Okay, moving on. We all know that internet and connectivity is increasing year on year, and we've seen the emergence of other markets too in Latin America, South America, Africa and even India. So localization, reach and scalability will be an essential part for any global monetization project. It's important to offer consumer-facing convenience, local payment types, etc. If I live in the US, I'd probably want to pay via credit or debit card for services, but this mightn't be the case in other territories. From real-time bank transfers in Eastern Europe to voucher codes in areas with high percentages of unbanked people. Different languages, even different cultures of languages, are all factors for consideration. So it's important to cater for all on your way to world domination. Okay, we said we'd focus on the TV sets, we'll do that now. Okay, the first generation of app-based smart TVs might go down as an unfortunate experiment, with only 40% of households actually connecting that smart TV to the internet. However, given the state of the user interfaces found in most smart TVs back then, this doesn't really come as a surprise to me. But I think the second generation, focused around tablet-based guides and controls, will finally get things right. Second screen apps that control interfaces, TV guides, recording and even social engagement is the answer. I was at all the TV conferences earlier this year, and Siemens had a fantastic product, Siemens Swipe for example, and it was absolutely user experience centric, but there are others available, and there's a lot more on the way too. Okay, some stats on TV right now. So 1.8 billion connected TV devices to be shipped globally by 2016 and to be in over 570 million homes. Smart TVs are bringing manufacturers and content owners, payment providers together closer than ever before, and connected devices are offering consumers new ways to access content whenever they like. These statistics are all lending themselves to support one statement, and that is that TV is king. Okay, another quick one for you. The paid TV landscape today. Paid services will represent 57% of the market for video, the market share for video services and connected TV by 2014, according to DigiWorld iDate's recent study. So this pie chart is significant. It's indicating that subscription and transactional video on demands will surpass the revenue generated via ads whether that's short clips or premium advertising. That's an incredible statistic, and it's one we'll certainly keep an eye out for in the near future. Okay, so at MPP, we realize that monetization is only a small part of a wider project, albeit in a very important one, of course. We realize there are many different factors for consideration: partners, integrations. Have you got a video service? Are you integrated with Brightcove? What other partners we need to work with? What other providers are involved? Do you have CRM? What systems do you use, etc.? So we look at these three areas now: experience, deliver, and monetize. In terms of experience, we're going to look at the user experience, so what's important to them. Content, of course, and the business model you operate is important to your overall service offering, but this user experience should be absolutely central to your strategy. It's the part of your product that the consumer actually touches, and it will guide them through your services and content. There's so much choice in the marketplace today that if your user experience is inadequate, then the likelihood is that your customer will simply move on to one of your competitors. You know, if I wanted to find some information on a certain subject, open a browser on my phone, I land on a poor mobile site, I will simply close it down and find an alternative. And I'm sure you do the same today. So multiple devices are important. Can I have a single sign-on with my account across all devices, on my phone, on my tablet, on my TV, on my laptop? Can I get the latest content, the content that's most relevant to me? Is it easy to find? Content on the move too, so we've seen Spotify do that in music, where you can download their streams and access it remotely offline. We've seen the same with BBC iPlayer. I've already indicated that they're a pioneer, and I think their application is fantastic, that you can download content and view it offline remotely. Delivering content as well. There are several considerations when selecting or building, for that matter, your own delivery platform. Things to consider include: is it multimedia ready? Is it scalable? If you want to monetize content in different territories or different areas of the world, are you able to do that? Can you scale out your product? Is it easily integrated? Can you integrate with different payment providers, videos providers, user interface guys? Is it secure? Is it robust? These things are all very important today. And CRM, of course, traditionally, as I've indicated already, the broadcasting industry was always a B2B industry, so the operators themselves never really had any need for an advanced CRM. But the industry today is increasingly presenting B2C opportunities, so now companies are moving to create advanced CRM solutions. CRM should be about one magic word, and that's centralization. You should be able to centralize the customer data and customer support in CRM. You should be able to centralize product management, analytics, reporting, revenue, financials. You should be able to centralize all your offers and campaigns using your CRM. Localization too, if you have a global reach, you want to centralize all these aspects in your CRM. If you want to acquire more customers and retain the customers you already have, CRM is absolutely essential. Okay, monetization, probably the reason why a lot of you guys have joined me today. So it's imperative to understand your own consumer really, and how they will like to pay for your services and content. What works for them? Just as user interfaces are important for flicking through the content for end users, offering targeted payment types can be just as important to the overall user experience. And the payment flow journey as well is so important. We believe in convenience across all devices. As I touched on earlier, there are several monetization models in the marketplace today, and MPP have encountered them all. From a central payment wallet, for example, I'm going to talk about Philips in a little while. Philips is a customer of ours, and we provide the e-commerce platform for their second generation smart TV, and we do that in the form of a central payment wallet. So there's a registration journey which we host. We host that journey incidentally because we're PCI level 1 compliant, which is the same as banks, so we can store your card details securely offline or on our secure servers, etc. So anyway, there's a registration journey for Philips. We'll host it, and then they will be able to purchase all of Philips' content and any content that the Philips' third-party content and service providers hold as well. Metered access, for example, we've encountered this with many of our video-on-demand customers that like to maybe offer 5 videos on demand free before asking them to pay on the 6th attempt. So that's a way of engaging customers, if you will. So they will get their fingers dirty on the product, they'll sample it, they like it, and then when you ask them to pay, they're much more likely to do so. Subscriptions and recurring billing, of course, whether that's against direct debit, whether that's against credit cards, because you get a real-time failure success response. Micropayments as well for low-value price goods on a pay-per-view basis. This would be best for monetizing content that is priced at low value points. Transactional video on demands, if you will. There are many different monetization models, and it's really just understanding what your consumer wants. Okay, payment types though as well. So MPP, we pride ourselves in supporting a whole host of payment types, whether that's direct debit for subscriptions or alternative payments like PayPal, or whether you want to do some social payment types. Local payment types, of course, that's so important. So that Philips example I've mentioned, we have that available in over 40 different languages with over, well, I think it's, maybe 80 different payment types all over the globe, local banks, integrations, etc. Credit and debit card as well, the Western world's preferred method of payment. Mobile billing, we see a lot of sporting clubs do this for little 3-minute video highlights of particular games. Baxed and real-time bank transfers for particular territories, of course, is important too. There are lots of different payment types that you should support, and MPP can help you do that. We support all these that you can see on the screen. And obviously, if anyone would like to talk to me in detail about local payments, I would be happy to do that for you. Okay, that leads me on to a couple of examples. So at MPP, we work with the media and entertainment industry. So our key clients would be from the broadcasting or the publishing industry and entertainment, of course. So Sky would obviously be a pioneer in broadcasting. They're an innovator. If you look to Sky, they do pretty much everything very well. They have fantastic offers and campaigns. They've got fantastic multi-platform services, and we help them monetize all their content, whether that's subscriptions and entitlement checks to e-commerce platforms on their applications that you can access on the go, like Sky Go and Sky Now. Well, this example I'm about to show you on the screen is an example of a product of ours which is called eDeveloper. It's our suite of APIs. So this is the journey for a returning user. He quickly finds some content he'd like to buy and he clicks a Buy Now button. And then he's provided with 2 different options of what way he'd pay. He's provided an option to pay via his prepay e-wallet, or he can simply pay via his credit or debit card. He selects what he'd like. He gets a quick confirmation page. You don't need this page. It's up to you whether you want to include it. And then you click OK, and he's accessing the content. Now that's the journey for a returning user on Sky Player, this example, but it could be Sky Go or Sky Now, for example. Okay, another example I've got for you is Philips. As I've touched on already, this is their 2nd generation smart TV. The clip you're about to see now is actually being operated via remote control, so the guy's just kicking back in his sofa, accessing content via his remote control, but he could just as easily do this via his laptop or his mobile device, if he'd like, for the registration journey itself. So this is a new user. This is our product called ePayment. It's a white labeled payment page service, so we'll host this for PCI reasons, and it's up to you what sort of metadata you'd like to collect. It's up to you how you'd like it to look, what look and feel. Do you want it to resonate with your own existing web skins? So it's up to you how much metadata you'd like to collect. We see some of our publishing customers collecting lots of data, but in this instance, all he needs to do is enter an email address, create a quick 4-digit PIN, and then he will upload his credit card details. Now his journey as a returning customer will change, and we'll do that via our APIs. So his returning journey, he will see the same user interface for Philips. He will browse the content and find something he'd like to watch. He'll select that, and then he'll be just simply prompted by the system to enter his 4-digit PIN to access that content. So that's a very seamless journey for the returning user on Philips Smart TV. Okay, so we'll just see this guy finishing off his credit card. Obviously, he's doing this with his remote control, so it's taking a little longer than it might do on a laptop, for example. Clicks complete, and he's in there. He's accessing content. Okay, obviously, I'd be happy to talk to any of you guys in more detail about what work we do for some of our blue chip clients on a one-on-one basis if you'd like. So please do feel free to contact me at a later stage. Okay, moving on, questions. Well, I'm almost out of time actually, so I will just pick the first one I see, which is from Sam, and it's around micropayments. Okay, so in what way would you use micropayments? As I touched on before, I would recommend rather that you should do this for low value price goods. So if you have a video on demand's library and all the content's priced at maybe $1 to $2 or euros, that's when I'd recommend that you utilize it. And there's two ways you could do that. Well, and one of them is via prepay e-wallet. So it's quite simple now. It works similar to a wallet, of course. You top it up with some credit, and then as you access and digest content, you can bear down against that credit. There's another way, which is if I have any iPhone or iPad listeners on this call, we could do a system called post-pay aggregation, which operates just like the Apple iTunes model. So what they're essentially doing is aggregating your payments. So when we have a new customer, we could simply make an API call to the bank, prime the card, check that the funds are available, and then they can set a meter at, say, 10 euros or 2 weeks, whichever comes first. And say the content was priced at €1 each, that end user could access up to 10 items of content before he receives his invoice and before the client, we take the payment on behalf of the client. Now, one of the benefits to the client by doing that is that they only need to pay an external transaction fee on one overall transaction, that transaction of 10 euros, rather than paying an external transaction fee on each low price point of €1. So that's how I'd recommend to do that. And Sam, by the way, if you'd like to catch up with me after this call, I'd be happy to talk to you. Okay, I am running out of time, so I'm not going to be able to take any questions. I'm afraid I'm actually over time. We do have some conclusions I would have liked to have went through as well, but unfortunately we're not going to have the time. So we will include that in our follow-up email, which will come out to you in due course. It'll probably be a couple of days. So there's a few different assets you can expect on that, like a link to this recording, for example, and so our findings of the poll, some Q&A, and maybe even some white paper conclusions. There's some contact details on the screen there, but the email you will receive in a couple of days will have all of our contact details on it, so don't frantically rush for a pen right now. If you'd like to connect with us on Twitter or LinkedIn, I'd please encourage you to do so. We are regularly posting industry statistics and industry information and news that you probably find very relevant. You can find us at MPP Global on Twitter. Okay, I'm going to end this session now. Thank you very much for taking 30 minutes out of your day. I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you learned something, and I would love to hear from you again soon. Okay, I'm ending it now. Thank you very much. Goodbye.